Okay. Believe that it's now. Welcome to now live under the mat radio. The episode is named after him, Hurricane Watch, bringing in former WWE, former WCW superstar, current TNA superstar, host of Highway to Helms. This show was great. Talks about some of everything. Bringing in the man himself, none other than Shane Helms. How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Doing good. Was that intro good enough for you?
Man, that was perfect, man. You nailed it. That works.
Thanks, man, for coming on to the show, Under the Mat Radio. It's an honor. First, ask you how you feeling. How was your day? What did you get into today before we start things off?
Oh, man, everything was great. It's bright and sunny here in North Carolina, so just an easy day doing dad stuff during the week, you know.
Oh, man. Well, it's good, and we all dads, and definitely appreciate it. Definitely need more of that, active fathers in their child's lives, so that is great. Start things off, talk about your show. Love the show, Highway to Helms. You said it was on your website, has over 1 million downloads on iTunes. Talk about what makes your show different with all of these other shows out there. Why should people tune into your show? What different flavor do you give fans that watches it?
Well, I haven't actually done Highway to Helms in a while. I stopped doing it. I started doing podcasting about 6 years ago. I think it was 2000. I guess going on 7 now, 2010. Right after I left WWE, I got into it, and I was just wanting to do something new. Now everybody's got a podcast, but back then nobody really did. Nobody as far as that has a big name in the wrestling industry. And I would actually do a video pod too. I'd have guests come in the studio. We film it. We'd stream it out live at times, or film it to sell on DVD. And it was just something that I was having fun with for a while. But it started to be too much of a job for me. I was still working a lot, and it just turned into a second job. Sometimes success can be a kick in the ass, Like if it would have bombed, that'd have been one thing. I actually stopped doing it because it got too big for me.
Oh, man. I do want to say, I know following your show, I think if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you last did it in 2013. I think that was around 13 was around that time.
Maybe. Yeah, it could be. It was I think I did some after my motorcycle wreck. I can't even remember. But yeah, I stopped doing it for a couple years. I got back working with FightfulOnline.com, and I do one that drops every Friday now with that website. And so, we talk about wrestling, MMA. We do a lot into my career and like different things that happened while I was there. We did a recent show about the first original draft and how they did the first brand separation. Did a really good one on the final days of WCW from the perspective of somebody that was actually there. I think this week we're going to kind of go into detail with the whole feud with The Rock, which is obviously one of the things I was most known for in my career. So I have fun with that, and also I appear weekly on the Keeping It 100 podcast with Conan and the Disco Inferno.
Right.
So I still do a lot, and I do a guest podcast at least once a week, it seems. So
busy day.
I probably should just bring Highway to Helms back because I'm actually doing just as much now as I did then.
Right. It's like I say, definitely great. A couple of fans contacted us today and was letting us know that Gregory Helms is on the show. I'm Keeping It 100 with Conan. Now, a good buddy of ours, Glenn Disco Inferno, has been on our show as well. I will say, you, Gregory Helms, one of the few guys that I'm personal friends with on Facebook that actually has some of the funniest statuses or comments on Facebook as it is. So I definitely do shout that out. My staff here on Actual Central Queen is on here, Saltine and Toph. It's been a little debate with you being on Total Nonstop Deletion. Fans have been contacting us the past couple of days, and my staff. Saltine, you there, brother? He was wondering if you actually got deleted on Total Nonstop Deletion. I said you didn't get deleted by Matt Hardy because you was in a lake of reincarnation and came back as the Hurricane.
Yeah, I came back. I came back.
Go ahead, Saltine. You had some words. Go ahead.
Oh, man. When I seen that, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I don't know how y'all developed that and y'all, put it together and say, hey, let's do this. Let's, come up with that. I thought it was very impressive. So I'm proud of y'all that y'all made TNA like, boom. I was just like, yes, this is what we need.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, there's a lot of fun with it. Of course, that whole Broken Universe, a lot of that, the majority of that comes from Matt Hardy just being crazy. I've been telling people for years Matt Hardy was crazy. Nobody believed me. Now everybody's starting to realize it, Y'all all thought Jeff was the crazy one. I said, no, Jeff's pretty calm. Matt's the nutcase. But, especially you get us all together, man, we're just creative people. And, I wish I could take credit for half the stuff I come up with, but I don't know where it comes from, and when I tell people that sometimes they don't get it, I know these ideas are mine and I know they're working, but I tell you, I just sit here and the shit pops in my head. Like, do I really take credit for that? Like, I feel like somebody is sending me these ideas from, outer space or some shit, and I'm just the one putting them out there. But, but it's a lot of fun, man. We wanted to do things different, to think outside the box. A lot of more ideas that we want to do in TNA, and hopefully they all work. It's sometimes it's an uphill battle because you got such an old school mentality in the business, and it's hard to fight those guys. Things have been done a certain way for so long that when you bring something new in, there's a lot of resistance to it, at least initially until they see that it works. So, we're hoping to do fun things. Pro wrestling doesn't have to have the limitations that it does. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome.
Thank you. We do want to give it a buddy of ours who was a friend of yours too, Mr. Anderson, Ken Anderson. We did a Skype interview with him a few weeks ago. Great guy. He was in Australia. He said he loved Final Deletion, Total Announcer Deletion, because he thinks wrestling takes itself too seriously, and he felt that you guys just had fun, and that's what wrestling needs today. He also blamed you for his stomach hurting so much on the road because you made him laugh so hard. Quote unquote about Ken Anderson. So if you can tell us, this a road story. You just why are you so funny? What would you contribute your humor from? And what were you doing to Ken Anderson to make him laugh so hard?
Just, the last couple of good tours we've done together were actually overseas, Iraq. The last one we did was July. We went to Iraq and Kuwait and a couple other places over there. And, dude, it's just me all day long. Like, I will just make punchline after punchline all day long. Like, I try to find humor in everything. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism. Sometimes it's just my way of handling things. But I don't really take anything too terribly serious. We're on a giant, big ball of mud flying through space. There's a lot of people that take this shit way too seriously. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure any of it matters. So I want to have a good time. Like, if I'm laughing, I'm having a good time, and that's what I want to do. So I try to make other people laugh. And honestly, I would joke to people, like, I was almost half convinced that's why I was in WWE for so long. I just made everybody laugh, and they wanted to keep me around, I did make Vince a lot of money with the merch, and, I felt like my ring work was good. But, I also feel like having a happy locker room is very important. So, I try to keep everybody in good spirits and keep everybody laughing. Now, I'll get pissed off every now and then. Don't get it. Don't get me wrong. But I just like to keep people laughing, man. And I'm a big comedy fan. I think comedy is probably one of the most difficult art forms to do. And it's definitely the least appreciated or the least respected, it seems. You never see, not never, but very, very rarely does a comedy win the Oscar. It's always some, artsy bullshit that half the people didn't even watch anyway. You know what I mean? I know what Steve Martin was talking about one time, Eddie Murphy, when he did that scene in The Nutty Professor where he plays all the characters around the table,
right,
and how he's just killing it. Yeah, and it's just like, how does that guy not get an Oscar nomination? How does he not get an Oscar for that? But you can go and just, cry 9 times during a movie, and somehow that's so, it's such a hard thing to do. But I'm just a big comedy fan, and I like to laugh, so I like to make people laugh.
Good. Let me ask you this too before we get to our panel. Fan Ricky from North Carolina said, Gregory Helms, Shane Helms, love you. Always been a fan. Where the hell is Evan Courageous?
He lives down in Gastonia, North Carolina. He doesn't do a lot in the business anymore at all. So I was trying to. We did a 3-count reunion at this gimmick called WrestleCade, which happens in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, every year around Thanksgiving. And 2 Thanksgivings ago, we did a 3-count reunion. We all got together, and it was pretty neat for us to be back in the ring again. I actually wrestled as Hurricane because I was booked to wrestle as Hurricane before the 3-count thing came together. But Shannon and Evan came out at the end of the match. We all did a little dance routine, and people seemed to dig it pretty good. So it was fun.
Yeah, thank you for that. Toph, you there, man? Correspondent, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You can go, brother.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to call you Mr. Hurricane. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, buddy.
All right, cool. Well, Mr. Hurricane, since you already brought it up, let's just go ahead and get the elephant out the room. Let's talk about 3-count. Like, creatively, where did that come from?
Jimmy Hart. That was all Jimmy Hart's brainstorm. Jimmy Hart wanted to do that the second he saw us. Me and Shannon came in for a tryout match, and the very first night I was there, Jimmy Hart presented the idea to me. Before there was even a contract offered, Jimmy Hart was there talking to me about this idea. Now, me and Shannon had teamed with Joey Mercury and a guy named Christian York in Nashville for Music City Wrestling for a couple months, and we were called the Bad Street Boys. That was that promoter's idea. And we would come out to that boy band type music. I forget the name of the band, but the song is Walking on the Sun. And you can YouTube this really crazy Bad Street Boys. And Bad Street obviously comes from the Freebirds. But if you YouTube Bad Street Boys, you'll see this pretty ridiculous video of us out there. And, and so it was kind of like that, but, we were all in wrestling gear, and we weren't singing and dancing. But it was just that pretty boy, type of group. And in WCW, they were just looking for new cruiserweights, and they were looking for Americans. They had a lot of luchadors. They had some guys from Japan, but other than Kidman, they didn't have really any American cruiserweights that were really doing anything. And so it's kind of right place at the right time. The first tryout match I went for, Bischoff couldn't be there because it was the night after Owen fell, and so he had left to go be with Brett, so he didn't get to see it. And so they actually flew me to Houston the next week, which is a very odd thing to do for a person in a dark match or a tryout match. So they flew me to Houston, me and Shannon. We're in this, opening dark match against Kaz Hayashi, who is fantastic, and Blitzkrieg. And, we're going over, too, against contracted guys, which also very weird. But it's WCW. They did a lot of weird shit. So, but then I walked through the curtain, man, and they gave me a 3-year deal on the spot based off that one tryout match.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Well,
and then that led to the 3-count thing with Jimmy. Jimmy, as soon as he found out we got signed, he was there again. So.
Okay. Well, you just mentioned the cruiserweights and stuff, and there's been a resurgence of that in WWE. How do you feel about it? Have you been paying any attention to the product? I mean, what are your thoughts on WWE's current attempt at bringing back the cruiserweights?
They just got to stick with it. Right now, it doesn't have quite any steam yet, and it might take time. So, but they're moving it. At least they're moving in a forward direction. They're not doing like they kind of did something the other week with Braun Strowman when he comes out, beat up 4 guys, and these 4 guys were all smaller guys, and then right after that, they do a 205 segment. And I think that was from a writing standpoint and a match placement standpoint, that was really bad because you just told the world that you don't give a shit about these small guys by having this one guy beat up 4 guys. And that's unrealistic as hell to me. I don't give a damn what Braun Strowman is. Him and me and 3 of my buddies will beat his ass. You know what I mean? That's just, I get it. You want to show he's a monster, but we've already told that story. We know he's a monster. It didn't do anything for him, and it made smaller guys look like shit. And then right after that, we're going to go do a segment introducing Tozawa. So I didn't like the way they did that, but they did a really good segment this past Monday with the gentleman guy and Neville. So you gotta give the guys opportunities. You got to give the guys opportunities to talk. Some of the guys got a lot of work to do in their presentation of themselves, but it's a good start.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of other questions, but I don't want to eat up too much, so I'll let the rest of the panel ask questions. I did have a request, though, if it was okay. I think a long time ago I was listening to, different shoots, and you told a story about Scott Steiner saving your life. Would it be okay if you could elaborate on that?
Yeah, I went up we'd worked a match in Michigan, actually, which is, of course, Scotty's home state, I mean. And I was doing the spot where I grabbed my cape and put it on and go up top. Scotty was going to come and give me a big suplex off the top. And so I climb outside on the apron, and I'm climbing up the ropes, and I got 1 foot on the top rope, 1 foot on the second. Mm-hmm. And I started to whatever. And when he climbed up to get me, I started to fall, and I was going to fall over the top pole. Over the top of the pole, and that pole was the pole where the stairs were at the bottom. And so I was going to fall over that pole and go crashing down on those damn stairs, and there was nothing I could do because I was going, and there was nothing to grab onto because I was kind of perched upward. And I was just sitting there going, oh, my God, knowing this is going to hurt, and maybe really mess me up. And like I say, I was just about as I was a molecule away from tumbling. And Scotty just grabbed me by the arm and said, easy, boy. And,
that's cool, man.
He just kept me from falling and saved my ass, and then he suplexed me off the top. I was like, oh, my God, that's the greatest superplex I ever got, just because it saved my life.
Oh, that's a pretty cool story. I've heard stories that, Scotty's pretty nice, once you get to know him. But I've heard stories that he's kind of intimidating at first, right?
Well, he's obviously intimidating, Too, not only just being big, but when you're somebody that's big and skilled, that's a whole different another level. Because you got guys that are really big, but their skill level is questionable. But when you got the type of athletic background that Scott Steiner has, looking like he does, as strong as he is, and he's fast as hell too. So, there's a lot of legitimacy about him, and that just adds to the already existing intimidation factor.
Oh, okay. I think I'll leave some more questions to the rest of the panel for now. Thanks, Mr. Hurricane.
You bet.
I will say with Scott Steiner, we got to talk to him a little bit backstage at an event a year ago. Always intense. Nice guy. He was so intense that I don't know if we call you Gregory Helms or Shane Helms or Mr. Hurricane, but you being backstage.
Shane's what I go by.
Shane, okay. Now in the backstage, Shane, you have them shows of like a gymnasium, like a school. There's always them two doors, and it's that one door that's open, the other one is locked. Scott Steiner leaves out to do push-ups and do squats and get ready for the match. But for some reason, the doors were locked. When you would leave out, you couldn't get in. Someone would have to open. Whoever was inside the room would have to let you in. So he got pissed. He was like, open the fucking door. he was just intense. Yeah. He was a nice guy, but he was, doing push-ups, and I guess he went to get his rope. I'm not sure what you call it, what you call that, Shane, the expandable.
The stretchy bands. The stretchy bands.
Right. He went to get it. He left the stretchy bands in the room. He was like, open the fucking door. Everybody just got quiet. Once the door was open, he was fine. I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm good. And he went on about his business. But, yeah, Scott's a good dude. Big and strong. Definitely so. Yeah. Fan question from Shane, listening in Baltimore, said, please tell us about working with The Rock. And I want to know your thoughts on The Rock calling CM Punk while on Raw last night.
I just saw a clip of that today, so that's just Rock being Rock, man. He does what he wants to. He knows he's the only one that can get away with that shit. Anybody else did that, there'll be hell to pay. But The Rock can kind of get away with what he wants. I'm pretty sure people in the back weren't too terribly happy about it. But, my take on the whole CM Punk thing is that the fans want him. I'm not opposed to him coming back at all, regardless of how he left. At the end of the day, we entertain the fans, and if the fans want it, it's got to always be in the conversation. So I thought that was funny. You know, it's just Rock being Rock. He's a great dude, man. You know, very professional, very down to earth. You know, one of the greatest guys I ever worked with. You know, and I just did one of his shows. He had this thing called Rock the Promo where fans and stuff would send in promos, and I was one of the judges for it. So he's just always been a guy that's always reached out to me and being cool about everything. So I can't say enough good things about him. Like I said, tomorrow, the show that comes out this Friday on Fight Online, I'm gonna go more into depth on The Rock, talking about, you know, everything that we did together.
Thank you for that. Before I turn it over to Appleton Queen, our correspondent, switch things up. Like you talk more than just wrestling. We know knowing a lot of wrestlers, you want to talk about other stuff besides it. TV shows. What's some of your favorite TV shows to watch? Are you a Walking Dead fan? Are you into, what's the show, Appleton Queen? You like Emerald City? Do you like the Have and Have Nots? You know, what kind of TV shows do you like?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Walking Dead. You know, this season, the first half was a little bit lackluster, but it seems to be picking up for the last couple episodes. I watched just a little bit of everything. You know, This Is Us is one of my favorite shows on right now. That's probably the best acting of any show that's on TV right now. Great cast, you know, very diverse cast, and just, man, everybody's really knocks it out of the park on that show. You know, of course, I watch all the superhero shows. I even watch Powerless, which is drivel. You know, it sucks, but I'm just watching it, hoping it'll get better. You know.
Okay.
But of course, I watch all the wrestling. Big into Netflix. I'm caught up on Netflix, I think, on just about everything. The best movie I've seen lately is The Arrival. If you ain't seen that, I thought that was really well done.
Because you recommended it, because I just watched what's the movie, Shane, with Amy Adams and Jake Gyllenhaal? What's the other movie they did together? Not The Arrival. Was it Passengers or one of the movies? I just watched that, and someone recommended The Arrival to me as well, so I'll check it out.
Yeah, I don't know which one you're talking about there.
Yeah, no, Amy Adams, she did like 2 or 3 movies, like almost back to back to back. She was in a lot of different ones, and somebody sent me. Amy Adams played Jake Gyllenhaal was an author, and Jake Gyllenhaal was the ex-husband of Amy Adams. He wrote a book, and while she was reading the book, it was like she was actually reenacting it in her head, and we got to watch it. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I'll give you the name of it later in the show. Somebody will send it to me. But
right.
Are you a fan of any of the Netflix original series?
Oh, definitely.
Any original series in Netflix do you like?
Yeah. I mean, I like Daredevil was phenomenal. I thought Luke Cage was really good. The first half of that season was better than the second half. You know, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but once Cottonmouth was out of the picture, like, I thought it went down. I thought he was the better performer than the guy who was Diamondback. And like, just the Diamondback guy I didn't think he's that good of an actor, you know, not in that performance anyway. And so it lost a little bit of steam. For me there.
You know, I agree with you, and I know me and Saltine talked about this too. And Toph is, I felt Cottonmouth. You know, he was also played in the movie Moonlight. We thought he was a better villain. You know, he had more more charisma. You know, him and his sister. And then when it went to Diamondback, it was like, what the hell? It is kind of like, okay, like.
Yeah. And I felt like that series might have been 1 or 2 episodes too long. You know, they could have wrapped all that shit up a little bit quicker. But, you know, I ain't going to complain about content, you know, but they could have wrapped it up a little. They did draw it out some. You know, Stranger Things was hot. You know, I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it was. I believe Stranger Things 2 comes out in August, I believe.
Yeah, that was really good. You ever see Sense8?
Is that the one where the people rose from the grave and they don't know, or was that Glitch?
No, that's Glitch. That's not bad either. But Sense8, all these people got like some kind of weird telepathic connection. There's 8 of them, and like some of them can feel it. They can feel each other. You know, yeah, that was pretty good. It gets a little you know, wild at times, but it's really good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going. I got it on my list now. Put down since 8. We'll watch the Arrival, courtesy of Shane Helms. Ever since you
Black Mirror is really good too. If you haven't seen that, Black Mirror. Yeah, it's like a futuristic Twilight Zone.
Sound good to me. Sound good to me. Ever since you Queen.
Hi, Shane. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, I know that you're a big comic book fan and that your WWE character was inspired by your favorite comic book, Green Lantern. Do you have any other comic book characters that you like?
Yeah, the Green Lantern is just one of my favorites. He's not my top. My favorite character of all time is actually a guy called Black Adam, which strangely enough, The Rock is going to play.
Rock is playing him.
And that's just how the universe works sometimes. I'll tell you another strange connection with me and The Rock. The first very famous masked wrestler I ever liked, and of course I'm from down south, is a guy named Sweet Ebony Diamond. And I remember I loved the name before I ever saw him. I just said, Sweet Ebony Diamond, that's awesome. And I saw him. It's a black guy just in mask, just trunks and boots and a mask. You know, didn't have no elaborate outfit, but he could do some cool shit. And it was Rock's. It ended up being Rock's dad. It was Rocky Johnson under a mask.
Rocky Johnson.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and so of course, me and Rock got to be buddies. His dad had like some kind of business, and he wanted the 8x10 of me. So I signed the autograph for him, and I was like, all right, I want that Sweet Ebony Diamond now. You ain't got to pay me nothing, but I want a Sweet Ebony Diamond picture. I've been waiting on that shit about 10 years. Still ain't got it.
Well, we're putting it out there now, Rock.
Yeah, I want my damn. Yeah, talk to your pop. Get my damn autograph. Yeah, that's such a great name, Sweet Ebony Diamond.
Love that name. We brothers here on the show too. We love that name. Why didn't we come up with that, Soul Team?
Now I tell you what, too. Like I saw a picture, like when I was, I'm 42. So when I was a kid, I was really big into the wrestling mags. So we didn't. I mean, obviously we didn't have. They didn't have computers back then, so much less the internet. Right. So super big into the wrestling mags, and like I said, I'm a Sweet Ebony Diamond fan. And then I seen this picture of Rocky Johnson, and he's got a tattoo on his chest. And I was like, oh shit! So I recognized the tattoo, and that's the same tattoo as Sweet Ebony Diamond. I figured this out, so I done solved the mystery of who he was. And so my dad's a big wrestling fan too. Now keep in mind, I'm a jackass kid. I'm like 5, 6 years old. I'm all excited. I run in there like, Dad, look, Sweet Ebony Diamond is Rocky Johnson. He goes, yeah, I know. I'm like, well, damn, hell with it then, Dad.
Man.
Next thing you're gonna tell me Santa ain't real.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
One of the favorite black wrestling names I like growing up is you remember Sweet Brown Sugar?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
man.
Used to love that name, Sweet Brown Sugar and Brickhouse Brown.
Yeah. I met Brickhouse a couple times.
Give me Junkyard Dog. I'm good to go. That was mine right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Junkyard. Now, speaking of that, Shane. Now, we'll be at WrestleMania this year. We should be at WrestleCade. Rocky Johnson will be there as well. So will you. Mm-hmm. So do you think there's a chance you might be able to get the 8x10 that you've been waiting for over 10 years?
If I find him, I'm gonna have to ask. Let's see if they got him, because I don't think he really carries them around. Because not many people know of the legend of Sweet Ebony Diamond. You got to go deep in history to know him. So I don't know if he keeps them around, because we did an autograph signing in Charlotte a couple years back, and he didn't have any then, because I did ask him. But I'll ask him again. You can believe that.
Well, we can try to get in contact with Soul Man Rocky Johnson. We can try to get a hold of him. See, look,
I definitely want that Sweet Ebony Diamond, yeah.
Ebony Diamond. With Walking Dead, I like you. I love Negan. Fan of the comics. Love the last episode of season 6. The first episode of season 7. It was too violent for some viewers, and a lot of the viewers are just soft nowadays, and they toned it down some. Who would you say, Shane, you're more like in the Walking Dead universe? Just all of it. You can go back to season 1 to now. Who do you see yourself more like? if you was in that universe?
One of the zombies.
What?
My ass would have got killed early on. I ain't built for the apocalypse, man. I would just jump right in the middle of them, but like just bite my ass and get it over with. I think if I got bit by a zombie and got killed, I would come back and haunt myself though. Like my body would just be walking around, but my ghost self would be right beside it, and I would be slapping the shit out of myself every day just for getting bit by that zombie.
Oh man. I thought you was gonna say you would be like Winslow. I like how Winslow was on this past episode, the Walker with the spikes.
I probably would have been like Shane, because everybody say I look like him anyway, or he looks like me. I'm older, so he has to look like me. But Shane, he got killed off in the first couple of seasons. But the new Punisher guy,
Shane.
like people say that to me all the time that we favor. So I'd probably be more like him, more of that aggressive. We need to, kill these, protect ourselves, go on the offensive instead of just sit back and wait for trouble to come.
Who? And I can ask this question around the panel, too. I know Toph and F6 Queen doesn't watch Walking Dead. Who in the universe can't you stand? Who do you hate? Like, you just wanted them to die? You can't say
Carl right away. I've hated his ass since first season.
he was just 8.
Even when he was a kid, I didn't like him.
Carl.
He would never stay in the house, and now he's just, every time I see that stupid cowboy hat, I just want to kill him.
Is anybody else you don't like?
No, I like everybody else pretty much.
I know for me, I couldn't stand the wife. Was it Carl's wife? I was glad when she died.
Rick's wife?
Yeah. It was like, just kill her off. What did she do? She just did nothing. Carl, I'm the same way. I didn't like Carl. If Carl died this season, I could care less. When he got shot in his eye, I was like, yes. Maybe he'll die. Nope. You don't notice Carl? He has like that plot protection. He got shot in season 2, survived that. I don't know how. Rehearsal. Now he got shot in his eye, which really, you think about it, should have went to his brain. He should have died. He survived that. So I guess it's kind of like Teflon. It's kind of hard to get rid of him.
Yeah, I never figured out how that bullet bounced off his eyeball like that.
Right.
He just gets on my nerves.
The Vertebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, you did the move in WCW, loved the name, loved the move. Had a few friends in my neighborhood. We all knew people that was trying to do the move, backyard wrestling. Luckily enough, nobody's neck got broke. Talk about the origin of the Vertebreaker and for you trying to use it in WWE and switching over to the Shining Wizard, switching over to the move that you started doing.
Well, when I was on the Indies, I would just study a lot of different styles. I would do it, study lucha libre and Japanese wrestling and some European wrestling. But it was all VHS tapes back in the day, a lot of tape trading. And so anyway, I saw the Vertebreaker in Japan, and I was like, but the girl did it to a pin. She didn't really bomb the shit out of them like how she later started doing and I started doing. She kind of just did it to a pin. And I just was like, man, I could do that, and I could like drop them and make it look cool. And so I started doing that, and then I came up with the name Vertebreaker. I was like, oh, this is the greatest name for a wrestling move ever. And no matter what anybody else calls it, the Vertebreaker is still the best name for it. And
it is.
And so and it was instrumental in me getting over at Sugar Shane in WCW too. Just that move got over. The way I would yell out my move before I did it, like nobody was doing that, and then that turned into a thing where everybody would yell their move out for a while, and getting to WWE. When I went to WWE, I was doing it because I was still Sugar Shane on a couple of house shows before I made TV, before I debuted on TV, and when I debuted on TV, that's when I found out that I wasn't going to be Sugar Shane anymore, and we're not going to use my music, and Vince is really worried about that finisher. And I was like, okay, I'll just have to think of something else. And I did it a couple times until, I got the official, like, look, you never hurt anybody. We know that. But this is after a string. Vince has paid for a string of neck surgeries for different people, Austin, Benoit, Lita, Edge might even have been around. His neck surgery might even have been at that time. So it's like Vince doesn't want anybody coming down on their head like that. And so it's like, okay, you know, and at the end of the day, he's the boss. You know, a lot of people ask me weird shit all the time, why I don't do this and do that. It's like, well, Vince McMahon's my boss. I kind of just do what the hell he tells me to do. You know, if you want that check coming in, you want, like any job, you want that check to keep coming, you do what your boss says. And I was just, I mean, I invented like 12 or 13 different moves. So I knew there's other stuff I could go into my bag of tricks and get. And plus in WWE, like as the Hurricane, there wasn't that many guys that I could even pick up. You know, my first big feud was with Big Show, and then Kane, and then JBL. You know, it's not like I'm out there suplexing those guys. So
right.
I needed to find something with those big guys. You know, and seeing Muta doing the Shining Wizard, I loved that. I knew it would be difficult to get over in North America. You know, obviously nobody was doing it over here until I started doing it. And I just wanted to go out of my way and make them call it. And they kept asking me, what's Shining Wizard mean? I was like, just please call it that, because, you know, I want Muta to know that you know, that I'm acknowledging that this is his shit, you know. And Muta thanked me for that later. And, I you know, that was a very cool moment for me that he kind of gave me the blessing. And by that time, I'd actually stopped doing the Shining Wizard. I was doing a running enziguri. So it wasn't necessarily even the Shining Wizard anymore. These big guys, they wouldn't put their knee up. You know, I'd be sitting there waiting, and they would forget to put the knee up, and then they would be looking at which knee, and I'm like, fuck it. And I would just get mad, and I would run, and then I ran and jumped and did this jumping enziguri, and everybody thought that looked even better than the step up on the knee, was the way I did the running enziguri thing. And so that's how my version of the one came out. And I've seen just as many people do my version now as do Muta.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool the way it all worked out.
Yeah, like I said, Muta for us was always one of the GOATs in Japan. I have, I know we have our collection. I have being from Baltimore, living in Baltimore, we was like NWA in the mid 80s, mid 90s. It was like NWA territory. WWF didn't really come here often then. And I have the 11x17 NWA poster.
Where you guys at again? Where you guys located at?
Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, so we had we were territorial NWA country. WWF didn't really come for a period of time. Didn't really come to us much, and we have the 11x17 NWA poster when Eddie Gilbert got hit by the red mist with by Muta, and everybody thought it was real. So everybody thought, you know, that in kayfabe, Eddie Gilbert was blind by the red mist. It was more dangerous than the green mist. You know, it was going crazy.
Yeah.
He was spinning. So, yeah, Muta was always great, especially with the Shining Wizard. Actually, before in the 90s, I actually witnessed someone legit get put in the Shining Wizard in a school fight.
Oh, yeah?
But he just ran up and just kneed him in the cafeteria. And the kid got DDT'd on the cafeteria floor. I don't know who the guys were.
I've seen DDTs happen in quite a few fights. I DDT'd a kid in high school wrestling. And his coach ran out yelling at me.
Yeah, good old time. Fan question from Jesse from Florida. Shane Helms, top 5 movies. Top 5 favorite movies.
The Watchmen's up there. Pulp Fiction's up there.
Yeah.
Unforgiven. Let me see here. Shit, I need something funny in there. Friday. I'll take Friday in that top 5 because I need some laughs.
Original Friday, right?
Yeah. I don't know what number 5 could be. I think number 5 needs to be a revolving door so I can switch it up. Ready to Rumble. I'll just say that because I'll get residuals for it. If people buy it.
I gotta add that one.
Hey man, Ready to Rumble is great, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Triple Cage.
Triple Cage of Doom.
Talk about working for Ready to Rumble. I remember when everybody was filming for that WCW, that was like a big thing because we really didn't see you know, wrestlers being involved in a movie like that around that time. I mean, of course, you know, Hogan in the early 90s, but around that time, The Rock was in movies, Cena wasn't in movies. So I thought it was cool. Talk about filming for that.
Yeah, I hadn't even debuted for TV yet. I had been hired, and we had to go get evaluated, me and Shannon, at the power plant after they hired us. WCW, like I said, did some weird shit. They're going to evaluate you after they hire you, as opposed to the other way around. So, but anyway, they gave us contracts, and then we had to go to the power plant for a week. And we stayed with Chris Canyon. He had this big house with 6, 7 extra rooms. And so me, Shannon, and 4 other guys all stayed there while we had to train at the power plant that week. And me and Canyon just hit it off, very dark sense of humor, Seinfeldian sense of humor, not necessarily slapstick, but real, when you tell jokes and only certain people get them, like me and Canyon could do that. And, and we just got along really well. And he was the stunt coordinator for that movie. And he got that job because he was affiliated with the movie about Jesse Ventura. It just one opportunity led to another for that one for him. And so now he's a stunt coordinator on this big movie, as far as the wrestling part is concerned anyway. And the other stunts were done by a different guy. But Canyon needed some help, out there, as far as coordinating all the wrestling scenes. Because in a movie, you can't just go out there and hey, you guys have a wrestling match, we'll try to film it, They want to know camera angles. There's got to be lighting and stuff like that. So we would go out and have to coordinate all the scenes. And then out there, they were going to train these stuntmen to wrestle, and they realized that was pretty difficult. So they needed wrestlers as stuntmen. So I ended up being cast as David Arquette's stuntman. And so I was only supposed to be out there 3 weeks, and I ended up being in L.A. for 3 months. And that was it, man. They paid me like crazy. I was a little kid from North Carolina. I'd never seen skyscrapers before. The next thing you know, I'm living in Hollywood, doing this movie, and I about lost my damn mind out there.
Man, I definitely did enjoy that movie. And like you said, it was great. You didn't even debut on TV yet, and you was on there. Go ahead, Toph.
Yeah.
What I liked about Ready to Rumble was it had humor that I didn't get until I was older. Like when I saw it as a kid, I was like, this is stupid. Especially when David Arquette saw Sting and he was like, you love Jimmy King, I love Jimmy King, we're men and we're not afraid to tell other men how we care about them. So when I first saw it as a kid, I was like, this movie's stupid. But then when I got older, as an older fan, towards college, I was like, I started to notice stuff I never got. The joke of the movie that still gets me to this day was when Jimmy King lost the title on Nitro, and Arquette's in the front row, and he's like, this isn't even a pay-per-view. That's totally like an IWC joke.
Yeah.
Because during the Monday Night Wars, they would just change titles every other week, whereas today, everything's in a paper. It took me years to get that. Now I look back at it, and I'm like, oh, okay. This movie was a parody almost, not of wrestling, but kind of I thought the movie was kind of like a parody of the IWC or whatever it was called back then. I certainly didn't have a computer. All I had back then was just PWI magazines that came in the mail. That's all I had. But I didn't get a computer until by the time I got a computer, WWF had become WWE. But that movie is great. I'll watch Ready to Rumble over any of those WWE movies. I think they got the Marine 5 coming soon.
Yeah, Condemned 14. Condemned 14.
Well, I'll tell you a little. I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but we actually tried to get the ending of the movie changed. Me, Canyon, and DDP, we came up with this finish where at the end of the movie, Arquette and Scott Kahn go into the locker room, and they bust in there, and they catch DDP and Jimmy the King talking. And it's like, well, we really got him this time. What we going to do next time? And then David Arquette and Scott Kahn would have been like, what the fuck? And it'd been like that whole deal. We wanted to, but the director, the director was a good director, but he really didn't know wrestling. So a lot of stuff that we fought for, we got to do in the movie, but that would have completely changed that movie if they'd have done that. I think as far as even though a lot of fans do like it, of course, not everyone does, but a lot of fans do, I think it would have been more of a hit and more of a long-lasting hit if we could have slid that ending in there, even if it was something at the end of the credits, you know, Avengers-style type thing, where you see that extra little bit of moment, and you're like, oh, I get it. Because that's what we all go through as young fans. You know, you go up and you're thinking everything's legit, and then there's that moment when you find out it's not. And if you're a cool wrestling fan, you don't give a shit. You know, you're gonna have some of those that go, oh man, and then they just don't like it no more. And like that happens, and that's them and their life, and that's fine. But the real wrestling fans, we don't even give a shit. Like, oh, okay, I don't care. I'm still watching. You know, because that's how it was. Like I figured it out really. I figured nobody had to tell me. I figured it out pretty early. Like I just figured out you can't grab a guy and throw him to the ropes and he's gonna bounce back. You know, that shit don't really happen.
Right. Just
So,
like the Mist, I thought it was real. I was like, wait, it's only full colorless? What the it's not real.
I knew what was up when they revealed the Giant as Andre's lost son. I was like 7, and I was like, what are the odds? Come on, man.
Hey, man, a giant could have a giant son. That's not that far-fetched.
Or just add the fact that the Giant, he was medium show then. When medium show fell off the Cobo Hall, off the building, he just miraculously appeared the next night, the same night, like within 20 minutes to face Hogan.
That didn't happen, Tech. We don't talk about that.
Happen. Okay. Do you remember that Shane Helms?
One of my wrestling buddies asked me, how did they do that? And I go, what do you mean? They go, well, how did he survive the fall? And like that dude was in the business asked me that. And I was like, are you serious? Like that shit made me mad that he would even ask me something like that. I was like, man, get the hell away from me. Don't talk to me right now.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of DDP, former guest on the show, we sent them a text earlier congratulating them. Your thoughts, Shane, on DDP being inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame?
Man, I think DDP is a great guy, a great human being. I don't have any problem with it at all. You know, well deserved for not only, you know, I mean, he did a lot. He was a big part of that Monday night era when they were kicking, you know, WWF's ass, man. The rise of DDP was a real good storyline there. One of the best, you know, and more consistent even so than Goldberg's. You know, Goldberg's, one of the things against Goldberg's run was the lack of logic that they had and how to book him and how to book him on a continuous basis and to make it interesting as opposed to, you know, going out there and killing people is one thing. But that's really easy to do. You know, that's the easiest character in all of wrestling is that big, mean, tough guy. You know, that doesn't take any depth at all. You know, but to take fans on a journey up and down, you know, it takes a good character to do that. And to see DDP grow from, you know, manager to lower card guy to he's getting better, and you can see him getting better. Like, as a fan, you grew with him. You know, you got better with him, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool to see, man. And just, you know, just the story of him, how he started so late, but it's like, I don't care. I'm still going to try. You know, man, that's a powerful story. I don't care what nobody says. I'm going to try it. And then that's very cool. And I've been close to him since I met him. You know, that week I was talking about, I was at Canyons for the power plant. DDP came over to talk to us. I mean, and this dude's a world champion. But took time out of his schedule to come over and talk to like 6, you know, it was like 5 or 6 of us there. You know, we just hired. Ain't had but like a match on, you know, none of us had matches on TV at that point. And, you know, just sitting there giving us some friendly advice, you know, to keep your head clean, you know, stay away from politics, that sort of shit, and just, you know, just some good advice about in the business. And, boy, that stuck with me, you know, because he did not have to do that. And I always remember that. And when I came to WWE first and he showed up later, we actually were riding partners. We'd ride together. And I got nothing but respect for him, man. And he's and even when he would call and tell me about this whole yoga shit, and I'd be like, what? You know, even in the beginning, like yoga, you know, I wasn't buying it. But the thing about Dallas, he won't commit to something unless he really believes in it, you know. And he believed in it. I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And you know, but that shit damn sure works, you know. And it ain't just me putting up with my friends thing, because I don't put up with things unless I believe them either, you know. And that shit works, and he helps people out, and he does things from his heart. And the wrestling business, like any entertainment business, man, there's some bad seeds out there, and there seems to be more bad seeds than good. So when you got a good one like DDP, man, I'm glad to see him rewarded.
Yeah, that's great, man. DDP took time out to talk to you and always was there. He's a great guy. He just seems like he's just a regular guy, even though he is world champion and DDP Yoga. He just seems like a regular guy. Always treat people with respect, and he's one of my people definitely in the business to talking to. And I remember him coming out. He was a manager for the Freeburgs, and I was like, this guy looked kind of, when he started wrestling, the old DDP, he had the vest and the cigar in his mouth, and I was like, he looked kind of older, but he was good. And next thing you know, the taped ribs and the jeans and the original People's Champ and that diamond cutter, it was great from there. So I'm really glad for him. I'm really glad for him. He definitely deserved it.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, of course, unfortunate passing this week in wrestling has really been tough. The passing of Ivan Koloff, the Russian Bear, and the passing of, course, Nicole Bass and Chavo, Senior Chavo Classic, where we had here on the show, too. Chavo was telling us about what kind of beer he liked to drink, and it was like a cheap beer. Getting a cheap beer get you as we call Zoo, the hand Baltimore real quick. Memories, Shane, of if any, Nicole Bass, Ivan Koloff, and Chavo Senior.
You got to add George Steele to that list too.
George Steele, yes, George Steele, yes.
But George and Nicole, I don't recall ever meeting, and I very well could have, but if I did, it was very short and in passing. So at some of these conventions, we meet a lot of people, and you don't really get to converse with them. So if I met them, I didn't have any long conversation or anything like that, because I would have remembered that. But Chavo Classic, of course, I got a very close bond with Chavo Guerrero. We rocked and rolled in WCW quite a bit, and of course, he was one of my favorite tag team partners in WWE. And so I got to know his dad through Chavo. I got to know Chavo Classic, obviously, it was through Chavo. And man, he's just a good dude. You don't hear a lot of bad things about him. He could be temperamental, but I think that comes with that Guerrero bloodline. They could all be a little temperamental. Might fly off the handle here and there, but at the end of the day, he's somebody that a lot of people respected. Paved the way for a lot of guys. So none but the utmost respect for Chavo Classic. And Chavo Jr. there, man, I love that dude. He's one of my great friends, and we talk all the time. He's one of the guys that we always stay in contact with. So stay in contact with each other, and most of the time we just talking shit to each other, bust each other's balls all the time. But that's what boys do. As for Ivan Koloff was the first big star I was ever in the ring with, and and I'll never forget that, man. He was a good dude. He was very kind and nice. And probably the first time I realized that a lot of the mean heels in wrestling are the nicest people. It's a very strange dynamic that some of the most, the big baby faces were like these real dicks in real life. If I can say that on your show, I don't know. But they could be real pricks in real life. And then the monster heels were just these nice human beings. There's a strange happening there with that. And Ivan was super nice, and he should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. He should have been in there a long time ago, and it's a damn shame that he's not.
Yes, definitely great guy. I know I never said this publicly on my show. I definitely try to keep personal things away from my show, but Ivan Koloff was a guest here a year and a half ago, and Ivan was so sweet. We know him as the Russian Bear, looking all mean, and he was the nicest guy, man. He called me up a couple of times to check on me, to pray with me, and I spoke to his wife, and hey, Evan, how you feeling? And just chatting, and that really meant a lot to me. He didn't have to do that, but he was just so nice, so gentle. We got to meet George Animal Steele last year at a convention, like you mentioned. It was brief. He had a table, and strong guy. We only just said hi. You walk past guys to say hi, how you doing? And he was selling some of his DVDs and 8x10s, and he said the wrestling world are definitely in mourning now with George Steele, Chavo Sr., Nicole Bass and Ivan Koloff being gone.
Yeah.
So I say definitely for how fan Tammy just said here from Virginia, said Shane Helms, you and Chavo Guerrero don't look you've aged since WCW.
Well, I might not look it, but I damn sure have. I can promise you that. Actually, I'm going to be making a big return here pretty soon. I've actually lost 27 pounds since the new year. I'm under 200 for the first time in forever. You know, when I was Gregory Helms, I was about 220. That's how I walked around. But, like, after the kids and everything, I started to develop the dad bod. And it got away from me last year a little bit. You know, I was up to about 240 at one time. So I'm up, but I'm down to 200 again. So I'm gonna put the cape and mask on pretty soon here, and I'll be making another run. But yeah, I'm 42, so it ain't gonna be a long run. It'll be a short one. It might just be a jog.
Well, as long as you're out on the track and you're moving, that's all that matters, right? Maybe a
Yes,
jog
sir.
or a run or a sprint. Real quick mention the face paint. I remember you being a Hurricane. You first wore face paint, then you went to the mask. Who decided to make that change? Was it you, Shane? Was it Vince? Or just something you just thought it'd be easier?
Well, the first costume that they got me, you know, they had this little, like, Lone Ranger type mask, you know what I mean? And it was like some shit. Like, there was no way that was going to stay on my face. And, like, and keep in mind, like, when they approached me about the Hurricane idea, well, as a superhero, I was already Hurricane Helms. Yeah, the Hurricane idea was my name. But, and just because it rhymed with Shane, that's the only reason. When people ask me that, like, I don't have a good story. Like, Shane, Hurricane Helms just sound cool. And then you know, of course, I didn't use the Shane, but just Hurricane. I was Hurricane Helms then. And so, you know, they approached me about the idea to do the Hurricane. I was all on board. But, you know, I knew this was going to be tricky. You know, I knew it was going to be a tricky thing to pull off. And the only way it was going to work was if I really believed in it. And that means I had to believe in what I was doing and also what I'm wearing. And so they brought that mask to me, and I was like, this is some bullshit. And so I was like, man, I got to do something about this, you know. So I go to Vince, and I keep in mind I'm a new guy, you know. New kids, you got to be, you know, approach Vince in a proper way. You know, he's open to suggestion, but when you're new, you got to be cool about, you know, what you complain about. But I had a good complaint, and it was from a good place. It was like, you know, it's like, I just don't know if this mask is going to work. And Vince was like, you don't want to wear a mask? I was like, nah, I just don't want to wear this mask because this thing is going to fall off, and then I'm going to look like an asshole 10 seconds in, you know? And he's like, he's sitting there looking at it, he's like, yeah. He goes, well, what about face paint? And this was one of my favorite Vince stories, and I told it a million times. But he goes, what about face paint? And I go, like the Road Warriors? He goes, like the Ultimate Warrior. And I was going, what the hell's the difference between the Road Warriors? Okay. I was like, yeah, something like that. And I go, yeah, that'd be cool. I was like, is there somebody here that could do this? Because they had a makeup lady, but I didn't know. I ain't never went to the makeup lady for anything, you know. And he told me, he goes, yeah, go find Jan and she'll hook it up. And so I went and she hooked it all up, you know, and she would put, like, make it look all cool. Like, when you saw me on TV, there was a makeup lady there that would do it. But if you saw me at house shows at that time, that's when I would have to do it myself. And it looked like some third grader put that shit on my face because I was terrible at it. And we just did that until we could get a mask made, a mask that was, you know, I wanted to do something new and original. You know, I wanted a full front, but I liked the, of course, kind of inspired by Van Vader straps in the back. And
right.
And so, and once we got that, it was kind of off and running.
Thanks, man. Well, I think we got 10 seconds left. Check in. Shane Helms, it's been an honor to have you on the show. Thanks for your time. Hopefully we can have you come back on for round 2.
Sounds good, brothers. You guys be cool.
Thanks, man. Everybody, that was the great Shane Helms from Highway. The Helms used to be on the, used to have a show, Highway to Helms. Also does Fistful podcast. Check that out on YouTube. Please check out ShaneHelms.com. Thank you for everybody listening to Under the Mat Radio. This episode will be uploaded in an hour on blogtalkradio.com, on YouTube.com later on this week. Love everybody. Thank you, Toph, Saltine, ever since your queen, everybody listening. Talk to you all next week.